course here. Of course, at the Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Speed, as they often call it here. We bring you live coverage from round one of the iRacing IMSA Championship here on RCI TV. We apologize for the issues we had this evening. Teething problems with tech, you will understand. Brand new sim, brand new technology, and of course, brand new race cars as well for the drivers. Hello everybody, I'm Jesse Lee, joined by the Queen of Quebec, Sarah Stanton, with Ash Bibby behind the cameras. No timing tower this evening. We will rectify that for next week, of course, but it is either no timing tower or no race, so we have elected to go with it without a timing tower this evening, but we will have that fixed for next weekend. We'll try to keep you up to date with what's going on. We were previously watching a LMP2 battle somewhere vaguely near the front of the LMP2 field. If you weren't with us earlier, you couldn't hear us. We mentioned that the qualifying was quite spirited, quite close between the classes as you would expect, and after that it was a frantic start that had sent several cars down the pit lane. Sarah, welcome in.
Hey there, Jesse. Hope you're doing great today. Obviously, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we'll have that worked out for y'all next week. But for now, what you're watching is a mixture of GTP, LMP2, and GT3 cars. If you're new to kind of watching this sort of racing, it's GT3s are production cars, usually more expensive. You're looking at Ferraris, BMWs, Mercedes, things like that. LMP2, though, that stands for the Le Mans prototype cars. Those cars are monocoque design cars, big engines, super lightweight, and more aero than you could throw at a car in a good day. And the final type of car is a slightly faster kind of take on that, and that's your GTP cars. GTPs differ from LMP2s in that they have hybrid engines. And that means that the drivers have to learn to regenerative brake to bring back the power to those hybrid engines to really maximize everything they get out of these cars.
Yeah, all the LMP2 cars in the field, for those that are wondering, as far as I can tell, they're all Dallara chassis cars. There's no Orica or Ligiers there. They are all Dallara cars. And of course, as Sarah mentioned, you have the gambit of manufacturers in other classes, but essentially LMP2 is a spec class where in reality that isn't the case. There are favored manufacturers, but today in iRacing, really just the one on display here this evening. And some action from the GT3 field. Some of the cars going around, the Ferraris, the newer Ferraris, if you will, the 296, I think they are. Doing,
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, doing quite well here this evening. Oh, yeah, the 296 GT3. Not quite sure which one we're exactly looking at this time, but this is kind of the problem with Daytona, is being told that's Chris Humphries we're watching there. And Chris Humphries finds themselves already, we're about 20 minutes into the race, maybe not even that yet, and already the GT cars being lapped around here. You're already having to watch your mirrors if you are in a slower class than GTP.
Exactly, and as people go through trying to get around the track, that they have to be really, really careful, because these faster cars, they're going to be trying to find openings, usually in corners, because these LMP and GTP cars have so much grip that they're going to be absolutely diving past any chance they get. They're not going to wait for the drivers to reach the straightaway, because they just can't afford to lose that time.
No, they can't. We're watching Piotr Dominicus, who doesn't have his teammate with him. Normally they race together, the really slow teammates, but no Kevin Voss here today, so Piotr Dominicus out there doing it by themselves, but they don't look particularly phased at all. One of the early backers of iRacing here at RCI is Piotr Dominicus, has kind of stepped up to that. We got several regulars in the field tonight, and I do apologize if I leave anybody out. Mikael Sundstrom is in the field tonight, as far as I know, in the 899, and if they're not, they're at least signed up for the series. Benjamin Heilman, well-known broadcaster. Here is Mikael Sundstrom. He is in the field tonight. You want to talk about somebody who has a legacy here at RCI. There's few that have a longer sheet than Mikael Sundstrom. Of course, you also have, you got Bart Macha in the field, Ted Edwards, who we were on board with a little while ago. He's going around somewhere vaguely inside the top 5 of the LMP2 class. Jordan Daly, Tom Bryant, who is the event manager here. Peter Roche, who I've not seen in competition on RCI in quite some time, has come back to run the iRacing races. Used to be a well-known ACC driver, but of course has since moved on, or at least it would appear that way, but has come back to compete in this iRacing series. Theobald Roskin, another known driver to us. Tom Watts, Billy Octane, Jaroslav Roth, of course. The list really goes on. Raphael Huell, I've just noticed, is also in the race tonight.
Just have a whole collection of some of the greats, that's for sure.
Look at Billy Octane's car. This is the 33 of Billy Octane in the Porsche 963 GTP class. That's a Triple R livery if I've ever seen one. Blue on one end, pink on the other. And they're currently chasing down an Acura directly in front of them. You've got the many different choices of car in the top class. I'm trying to figure out who that might be. Is that Eric Ingman maybe that they're running down? That is indeed Eric Ingman who they're running down. That might be the only, no, that's not the only Acura we have in the field tonight. We have Lucas Christek, who is also in an Acura here this evening. Porsche was by far and away the most popular choice in the GTP in this championship. Again, this is just round 1. Triple 2 here of Christek, who is finding themselves in that position, that all too familiar position of trying to work lap traffic. What's that like, Sarah, as a faster car? Obviously, the burden firmly sits with you as the faster car. You know you have to make the pass. You want to do it as quickly as possible, but you have to do it as courteous and, generally speaking, you want to telegraph your move, right? You don't want to put yourself or whoever you're passing in a bad situation. But what's that like?
It's exactly. The trick to getting past drivers is making sure that you're just super clear on your intention to go certain directions. And it's really important both as a driver who's being lapped and a driver who's lapping to make those sort of clear intentions. As we can see here, driver here is going clean around. They're not weaving. The GT3s themselves are maintaining their line as they should as the slower cars. And we're just seeing really clean racing.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with a race like this, and especially with so many cars, 30-some cars signed up for this in the 3 different categories here. And some drivers have already found it a bit too difficult early on. They've since come down pit road, fixed their cars, of course, and they're back out there on the racetrack in different places. And there is a pit requirement for tonight's race. Is there? I don't actually see one, but I can tell you that there is the standard 17 incident point limit. And in the 2-hour, 40-minute Daytona race that we had 2 weeks ago, Sarah, some drivers were pushing 60 incident points in that time span. You get 17 tonight, you're going to get a penalty that's going to bring you down pit lane. Every additional 8X that you get is going to give you an additional penalty as well. But 60 in 2 hours and 40 minutes, this is an 80-minute race. How likely is it to see drivers going over their incident limit here?
Extremely likely, given the way iRacing calculates penalties. For people who have never watched iRacing before, maybe you only watch our ACC content, or if a driver drives off track, including just setting a tire kind of over the line a little bit, that is a 1X penalty. And those add up really, really quickly on tracks that are a little bit more flat like this, especially through the infield. We're going to see a couple drivers at least today, probably from the GT3 area, ending up with that. With LMP2s and GTPs, I think we're going to see less of that, purely because touching the grass on this is like touching ice, and the car will just immediately start to spin on you.
Absolutely. Peter Roche trying to work some traffic here by themselves for the moment. That 404 car of Roche, one of the P2 cars, or the LMP2 cars that we have in the field. LMP2 was the least popular choice. I'm certain in that, looking at the list. The least popular, but even still, they have about 10 or so signups in that class. And it's not quite 10, but a healthy mix of them. And by far, the LMP2 cars are the ones that are likely the most spread out. Now, this is a very striking car, very bright indeed, even in the dark. That's the number 6 of... That is not the number 6. Oh, and there's been a crash here.
I think he avoided the wall there. Just barely, though.
Jaroslav Sindalar, or Sindalar, actually, I've just realized, looking at the list, Jaroslav Sindalar has had an incident getting into turn number 1. Sarah reckons they didn't make it all the way to the wall, but a rough turn 1. And I was just going to say, quite interestingly enough, I was watching the replay of about 30 seconds ago, and some of the prototypes we were on at the time were already losing traction in some of these corners. Now, I don't think it's particularly warm this evening at Daytona. It's nothing like that. It's just that they're working the tires quite hard, I would say, and now they're getting down to the corners. They're looking for grip that they just don't have, and that was more of a braking issue down into turn 1, though.
Daytona, much like Indianapolis being based as an oval track, are notorious for just chewing up tires, especially on these kind of cars that aren't designed necessarily for pure oval racing. When they go through these kind of corners, this stuff is just digging super hard down because of the G-forces they put into it.
Rich in chat asks, are mid-season signups allowed? Well, they're allowed in ACC and other series that we run. I can't imagine they're forbidden here, so I would assume mid-season signups are absolutely allowed. That's kind of a thing that we do around here. We try not to exclude anybody, so I would assume you could certainly sign up for round number 2. By the way, next week we will be at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and we will hopefully be able to bring you live timing for that event. We have live timing. We're just unable to show it to you at home for this evening. Once again, we do apologize for that, but yeah, you certainly sign up, get involved here tonight. More the merrier, as they say. And there is a part of me, Sarah, I will admit, that is a little bit jealous that I'm not out there right now.
I have to agree. I mean, there's a certain bit of fun when it comes to this sort of multi-class racing, especially on iRacing. It is absolutely fun, but at the same time, it's great to be here in the booth, being able to share our knowledge of the sort of tracks and everything that we're on with this lovely viewers out there.
Yeah, happy to be with you, of course, and well, we just went through the bus stop, and that's kind of the party piece, the centerpiece of this racetrack, if you want to not count the NASCAR banking, of course. This is Christian Camphrier, who we are with currently. They are also in the LMP2 category, just sort of out there doing their own thing for the time being. But bus stop, huge. I can't think of anyone who's ever raced here in earnest and not gone off in the bus stop. They've recontoured that corner several times. They've taken away the grass run-up to that based on a NASCAR incident that occurred where a car went flipping down that particular section of the racetrack, so they removed the grass. There's some debate on if that will help or hinder incidents in sports car racing. Well, I reckon we're about to find that out this very weekend. Hopefully not, though. But all things considered, we are certainly hoping that that was a good move. And who knows how many times have we seen a car slide down through the grass and collect somebody in the middle of the bus stop chicane? Maybe with extra tarmac, they'll actually be able to get the car stopped. Christian Camphrier appears to be leading in the LMP2 class. You can see their number that is highlighted in white. They're the 46 car, but the blue number, the LED number, is showing 01. That tends to tell you where they are in their respective class. Of course, the Porsche's going to lose it. Christian's going to be able to get away with it, but that Porsche 911 spun out in the chicane, and somehow the leader in LMP2 was able to get away with it. Here it is, the 622 of Ada Wolf. That's a well-held slide right there. No damage besides the tires to Wolf's car, but a scary moment for both drivers.
Absolutely great recovery, getting back on. Oh, we just saw a little bump against the wall there. Probably a little bit of nerves after that sort of slide out there. The tires were probably pretty scrubbed after that, but maintaining that sort of grip, getting back on the track, and continuing the race is just the best thing they can do right now.
Yeah, you just got to shake that off. There's not a whole lot of damage other than the tires, and iRacing tires versus some other sims. It's not quite as big of a penalty. They sort of rebound a little bit differently than you might be used to in other sims, and well, they actually rebound worse than in some too. But you take what you can get, and looks like after that moment, they've been able to just sort of get back on it. And it's more about getting back into a rhythm, which is easier said than done, because if you're a GT3 car, Sarah, what kind of rhythm can you even establish, because you're getting passed by all the other classic cars? How often would you say you're in a rhythm in a race like this?
When it comes to stuff like this, and anytime you're driving the slowest car on the track, it doesn't matter if you're GT3, it doesn't matter if you're GT4 or MX5s, doesn't matter if you're doing single make and you're the slowest car, just maintain your line. The faster drivers can get around you. That's their job. Oh, we have number 50 here is spinning out. Oh, hopefully they're able, yeah, good recovery. Good recovery, get back on the track.
Ooh, Jaroslav Sindelar, who we saw earlier take a spin into turn one, has now had another spin, this time in the bus stop, and you can see they're indicating that they are, their position marker is indicating they're in 14th place. That's quite close to the back of the field already, and that car is, whatever is going on with the number 50 for Sindelar, it is not handling very well at all. I think that's the understatement, perhaps, of the century.
Absolutely. Sorry, my throat went out. I think I ate a frog there. It's fitting that we decided to go to Daytona for our first track because of the history of Daytona's name, at least, in the sim racing world. Do you know much about that, Jesse?
In the sim racing world? I mean, I know quite a bit about the stock car history in sim racing, but are you going to enlighten me about the road racing history?
So Daytona, at least in name only, itself was a massive technological leap. The arcade machine Daytona USA. That name alone brought a lot of things. It was built on Lockheed Martin military simulator technology.
Do you know, actually, I want to add on this. I'm quite curious if you know this. Whenever, what was it, Sega, I think it was, were looking to make a racing game, do you know what they intended to make that wasn't Daytona USA?
No, I know they made Virtua Racer beforehand, but not what you're talking about. Tell me.
So Sega was going to make an IndyCar arcade game at the time, but they saw the Daytona 500. They happened to be here for the 500, and it completely changed their mind. They said, we're not going to make an IndyCar game. We're going to make a NASCAR game, but they couldn't get the licenses for it, so they just used nondescript stock cars. They got the license for Daytona only, and Daytona, you could argue, was or wasn't actually in the game. But that was intended to be an IndyCar game at first. That was their original idea. But after attending the 500, they abandoned that plan and said, we're going stock car racing instead.
That's absolutely amazing. The sort of technology that came out with that to allow like something like that, because if for people who are young out there, At that point, we could not have textures on 3D models. Everything was
Oh,
nondescript colored boxes. And Daytona USA, using that Lockheed Martin technology, was able to put textures, the very first liveries, on a racing car game.
That is absolutely correct. I actually didn't know that, Sarah. To be honest, I didn't. That sounds very on brand for the time, and I just hope that whomever pocketed all my quarters from back in the day, I hope that they're happy, because I used to feed the Daytona USA machine quarters like again and again. Back in my day, you could play an arcade game for a quarter as well, but I think that's more telling about my age than anything else. But Lockheed Martin lending their technology to make a video game, that is an incredible story.
Absolutely. One of those things that could not have happened in anywhere but a fantasy.
How's Vin Diesel doing? Being asked by people in the chat. I think they're talking about what's his name? Finn Dressel?
Finn Dressel.
Yeah, Finn Dressel, the number 19 car in the Cadillac GTP car, and I think we're watching him right now as well. How's he doing? Well, he looks like he's in, we'll see, he's in P3 in class. So Vin Diesel, as you call him, doing quite well. He's on the podium currently right now. You can see some of his nearest competitors in the background as they're working GT3 traffic, but sort of by himself right now, working traffic of his own, doing well. Sarah and I are having a we're peek behind the curtain. We're having a giggle about that. That tickled us. Vin Diesel. I like that. That's a heck of a name to have. Hello to Martin Lawrence, who's joined us, and to we got some fans of some of the teams in here as well. MBK is in here, and three-time Night Owl champion Harry Connolly has shown up as well to take a look, to watch his friend Billy Octane, no doubt.
Always great to see people coming in and supporting their favorite drivers and teams. As a driver myself, it's so great when I see that, when I see on the public stream for that, and just people cheering me on. It's a good feeling.
It means a lot. It means a lot that you have people that care enough about you to cheer you on when they don't have any stake in it other than they know you, and they appreciate you and your efforts out there on the racetrack. And there's nothing else quite like that. It's something that's so hard to quantify and explain, but it's invaluable to a lot of drivers. I absolutely love it to have friends just sort of on your side, knowing that even though you're driving the car alone, you're not actually alone out there on the racetrack. And even if they don't know that now, a lot of the teams, a lot of the drivers I've talked to over the years say, yeah, well, I go back and I watch the VOD. I see, what you caught, what you didn't catch kind of thing on the stream. And I always think that's quite interesting. But the other thing they mentioned, Sarah, is they mentioned I saw all the people in chat cheering for me or making fun of me, if you will, lightheartedly, of course. But some friends, not all friends are created equal, let's be honest. Some come in specifically to heckle their friends.
I mean, sometimes the friends that you feel you can comfortable enough to banter with in that way can sometimes be the best of your friends.
Yeah, I always said you could tell how good of a friend you are by how much heckling. It's almost like being in a relationship. You get over that honeymoon phase of being in a relationship, and then all of a sudden you're cracking jokes and stuff like that. You wouldn't do that the first couple of months, would you? But, well, I wouldn't do that because I'd be single, but other people might be able to get away with it a little bit better. By the way, we were riding with the 47 of Bastian Lindner, and we saw something quite interesting there. Lindner got stuck in behind some other traffic and lost out on some time. Didn't lose any positions, of course, but they lost out on some of the cars they were chasing up the road. They just got boxed. They didn't get boxed in. They got boxed out. They were on the outside of the racetrack and just couldn't make that pass. They did the right thing, did Bastian. They just sort of waited for the traffic to clear a little bit.
That bus stop always gives me just it's enough to make a person pucker. Seeing them just slide through that last little bit and the back tires not quite biting till the last second. That is a scary bit of track. It doesn't matter if you're in the super high downforce GTPs and LMPs or if you're in a much lower downforce GT3 car.
I've said this before, and it scares people, but I can drive 900 laps around this joint, and I have, folks, and I'll never hit the bus stop the same way. I'll hit it fast most of the time, but I'll just never hit it quite the same way. That says a lot about my inconsistency for sure, but it also says a little bit about the bus stop. And considering I mentioned earlier, they reprofiled it. They continue to reprofile it. It's reprofiled this year because of the extra tarmac, because of the NASCAR incident that happened here last year. Because of all of that, it completely changes it. And even if it doesn't actually matter in the contours of it, it messes with you mentally, because you're here one year, you have your braking marker, wherever that may be, and then maybe next year it's changed a little bit. Tom Carroll confirming that that was his teammates. Finn Diesel is his teammate over at DSRT. I should have been racing tonight, but I'm sick. Oh, I see. Well, Tom, we wish you the very best of luck with your recovery. Hope to see you in 1 week's time. We're watching Peter Roche for a little while. And now we go back to this battle. This is a battle that has sort of persisted in this LMP2 category. I thought this would break up at some point, but we're going on 20 minutes. They're still racing.
On a track like this, there's only a few spots where it's really comfortable for these kind of cars to pass each other. So we're going to see a lot of periods where really the only time they might find these gaps is on the infield when cars start to slow down a little bit, and there's those kind of inside gaps that might start to form. But once they go onto the outside and they hit those NASCAR backs, like we're talking about right here, here's a great overtake. Amazing. Great job.
You love it when they do that. It's almost like they do that on purpose. Oh, they went side by side through the kink right there. That's quite scary, but they were able to just about hold it. That will give the red and gray car a little bit of a run, but nope, was covered off quite nicely. The red and white was able to stay in front. Meanwhile, the unlucky car in third here, third in line, not necessarily third of the race, just about keeping it together, but all of a sudden now, another little mishap, going a little bit too wide for the red and gray LMP2 car, and still holding on to that spot, but the lead car in that group absolutely gone for the time being, and that's good news for them, and it's bad news for these two, because no matter who wins out here, technically it could still end up in a significant loss for them time-wise, but I think it stabilized just a little bit. And that's something to be said about driver proficiency and their consistency as well, because you can be pretty darn good at one end of the racetrack, even if you're in the same exact car, and be better at one end of the track than somebody else. That's a quite interesting proposition indeed. Cameras swap to someone coming out of the pit lane here. That is a GTP car. Joshua Parrott hits out of the top 5. He'll remain, or at least as long as that indicator is correct, he is still inside the top 5, completing his pit stop.
Going back to something we discussed a little bit earlier on, there is absolutely one mandatory pit stop this race for fuel. In this 80-minute race, there was a 4-lap qualification session that we unfortunately were not able to bring to you this time, but next time you'll see the 4-lap quali.
Yeah,
there is no requirement to change out tires though.
Yeah, the 80-minute race facilitates the fact that you have to come down pit lane whether it's required or not. I don't think any of these cars can actually make it. I could be wrong on that, by the way, with GTPs. I'm not quite sure. I don't think they can, but I think everybody has to make a stop because they can't make it to the end regardless. But as you say, no tire change required. But I wonder how many cars will do that, because 80 minutes on a set of these tires, these IMSA spec tires, that is going to be quite an ask, but maybe not in the cooler night temperatures. That might be why event manager Tom Bryant made it at night, maybe to kind of nurse the tires. You wouldn't be able to make it for sure in the midday. That just wouldn't happen. But cooler temperatures at night, you wear the tires a little bit less. You might be able to get away with it if you do it just right. So we'll see where they all shake out. Theobald Roscom here in his Porsche, working traffic themselves. Not currently near anybody in their respective class, but part of the race is keeping the car on the racetrack, keeping it out of trouble, being predictable when you're making your passes. Curious where you stand on that, Sarah. I'm sure you've been on both sides of the coin yourself. So my question to you is, obviously, a little bit of cooperation goes a long way when overtaking different classes of car, but general rules put it on the overtaking car. But how much of it for you genuinely? Because I've always thought it's 50-50. It's give and take. Where do you stand on overtaking like that? Where are you on that sliding bar?
Probably closer to 60-40 on the overtaking car, just purely because the car from behind has a lot more ability to see where the other car is going. While you're in the car in front, you have to pay attention to the road ahead of you. And you got to be really careful not to cause mistakes that would collect the person behind you. But at the end of the day, it is give and take, and it's super important that both drivers are super clear to each other exactly what they're doing. Because if they're not, it's just going to collect a whole bunch of people, and we'll have turn one Monza moment.
Huge flurry here, hoping for no Monza moment as these group of LMP2s have all caught up. There's a couple of GTPs behind them who are going to try and look to pick their way through. The GTPs are lined up around the outside, maybe a little bit of a flash of the lights, but these LMP2s are fighting for genuine spots onto the racetrack, and that's, I can't quite tell what that yellow and pink car is. Is that Mikael Sundstrom's car? I'm unsure. But they're able to pick their way through whomever they are and get a spot there. Meanwhile, the GTPs do make their way halfway through that group. One of the LMP2s goes high, and now the GTPs are split for the time being. It could be a very sketchy moment down into the bus stop, and it almost was up in front of this group as they got quite close to each other, as the Cadillac in front came very close to making contact with the lead LMP2 in this particular pack. And now the Porsche behind is trying to make their way through. It does so with considerably less excitement, we'll say.
Sometimes less excitement is better, though. As much as it's fun for the crowd at home, it is definitely nerve-wracking for the drivers in their seat when you have other drivers taking these sort of liberties that cause a risk just to the whole field.
Yeah, you got to size up drivers in a competition like this, and these drivers are going to get good and intimate with different driving styles like that, for instance, over the course of this championship, because there a lot of drivers, a lot that you may not race with. I'd be surprised to hear that Scott William has raced with Tom Carroll in iRacing at some point in a multi-class event. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's less than likely that they're familiar with each other's personal driving style. You will get used to that, and it doesn't matter if you're in a different class either. You get a vibe, and you kind of understand what they're capable of, what they're going to what they're going to do. You get better at predicting what their actions are going to be, how they're going to race you, and irrespective of what class that you're in, and that you sort of build that rapport, or you break down that rapport over the course of a season. Tonight is a live dress rehearsal for a lot of these teams, just sort of dipping their toe in the water, getting their feet wet a little bit, and they'll come back next week armed with even more knowledge, and that just continues to snowball as this series goes on.
Exactly, and that sort of knowledge is going to be invaluable for these drivers, and also just trying their best to understand that these different cars, while they look very similar, they can handle a lot different under force.
They certainly do, and they definitely handle differently whenever you're racing each other quite close like this. Side by side, the GTPs, they've got a Ferrari, and that is not a Ferrari in the GTP class. They got quite close there, almost lucky, I would argue, for that Ferrari that they were able to sort themselves out. This is a battle for P3, by the way, in the GTP category. It is Porsche on Cadillac, and right now the Porsches won it.
Absolutely. It's quite surprising.
Oh, man. Sorry, I got excited there.
No worries, Jesse. Why don't you take away on that one?
Oh, no, I think I need to calm down. I thought that Cadillac was going to give that Porsche an oil change. That did not happen, but sometimes the camera plays tricks, but I think maybe Cadillac overran the corner trying to keep it quite close there and continues to lose a little bit of ground. Right now, P3 with that Porsche in the sort of house livery, if you will.
The important thing to remember for the GTPs is that that first bit of braking is all regenerative. So it can be pretty scary seeing some of these drivers coming a little bit faster than you might expect before they get up to behind another car, and then suddenly their brakes really biting and making the difference and actually stopping them before setting them into each other.
It's true. It's very true indeed. Bastian Lindner, by the way, in that Porsche that we're watching, into P3. Should I say back up to P3? He has solidified his position in third for right now. Ooh, working traffic in the kink. This is a very difficult place to do it. There gets a little bit of help from the Mercedes that they're over. Is that Mercedes? I can't tell from this angle. I do apologize, but it is a Mercedes. Is it? Hold on. I might be completely off. That might have been James Mead, in fact, if that was. And sort of went to the right, realizing that that prototype was coming through and was not going to hang around. That comes back to, you gave it about 60-40. I think that was the 40% on the GT's part right there. Just making a lane appear as if to stay out of trouble entirely.
I was very surprised to find that able to happen there. It's sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, I hate to say luck in something like that, but you're probably closer to the truth. You don't really overtake in the kink. It doesn't matter if you're in a different class or not. Very dangerous spot to do it. Can go wrong in an instant, and if you have a crash there, you either go hard off into the left-hand wall or you spear off into the grass, and depending on how quickly you are going, you may end up getting a track cuts drive-through for something like that. If it's egregious, get a bunch of X's and damage as well. You can also, if you do it early enough, you can actually hit this wall right here, the blue one, before it ends. So very scary part of the racetrack. You see typically a lot of caution here, but not a lot here from this particular Cadillac that is in 5th place.
That Cadillac sent it through there. Zero fear on that driver. Absolutely almost causing an incident, but getting away with no damage to anyone. And at the end of the day, if nothing happened, nothing happened.
I think that's Lucas Lepp, or Luca Lepp, oh no, it's Lubas Lepp. In the number 18 Cadillac. They were just about to get away with it, and I was rather trying to make a point that that's not a particularly advantageous overtaking zone, but Lepp, in fact, made it into one, but that's exactly why you don't want to have to make a pass right there, and you can change everything in an instant. And again, if the GT driver makes a incorrect judgment call, or you make an incorrect judgment call by stuffing it up the inside or whatnot, it does go wrong quite quickly. Luckily, we haven't really seen that here tonight.
So far, so good. We've seen a lot of drivers take liberties with each other, but we've managed to avoid any major incidents, at least since we've gone on the air. So hopefully drivers continue to... Oh, did that driver just vanish?
Well, sometimes netcode and iRacing makes some weird stuff happen. I ain't afraid of no ghost. They'll come back eventually. iRacing's netcode set up in such a way that even if you have a momentary connection issue, it doesn't ruin your race. It just sort of Dissipates you into thin air, but this
Oh,
isn't. Then it's going to
no.
be significant contact. Many cars off of the racetrack. There's the Triple R car of Billy Octane coming through, and there's one of the Acuras, LMP2 car involved quite heavily as well. That seemed to start out as a single car spin for the Audi, and it ended up collecting more of the cars than just their own. I wonder, is that Christopher Rowe that we're watching? Oh, he's gonna, yeah, this is the replay. Oh, yeah, he starts to go around. It is the 74 of Christopher Rowe in that GT3 Audi R8. They started going around by themselves, but because they were trying to lock the car down and save it, a LMP2, who was right behind them at the time, just finished the job, if you will, sent them around. A couple of other cars involved. Everybody else scatters, and there's damage in these races, Sarah. That's real damage, several seconds done at minimum.
And it's a reminder, too, that when drivers are bumping each other like this in iRacing, they're getting anywhere from a 0x to 4x, depending on the level of contact. And it's super important that all drivers are really paying attention, because the system itself does not discriminate on who was hit. If two drivers hit each other, both are going to get that penalty. So it's so important that when you're coming in, you see that yellow flag, you take caution. And if you're also a car involved in a wreck, it's important to hold your brakes. As much as you want to have that urge to try and get back on the track, pull the race back together, if you hit somebody else, that's going to cause you even more problems.
Yeah, of course, remember, everybody, in this 80-minute race, they're working with 17x. That's right around the amount that they would normally get for an hour in a normal iRacing lobby. Of course, this is an RCI club-level event, but they've got to go about 20 more minutes on their 17x this evening. Kevin Boss has re-upped his channel membership to RCI TV, says, love me some multi-class racing. So here's another month of membership. My hat's off to you, Mr. Boss. Thank you very much for being a continued member of the RCI TV family in more ways than one, buddy. Thanks for supporting the channel, supporting us, and most importantly, supporting me in our Baldur's Gate playthrough recently. I do appreciate some of the saves that you've had on me recently. Absolutely clutch this man in with some of the rolls of the dice, but I digress. Back to racing. You know, speaking of rolling the dice, Sarah, I'm pretty sure we've seen some cars do that here tonight. I wonder if they have a D20 handy.
You have to be wondering. A few of them have definitely got that critical success.
They sure have. One crit failure that we know of as well thus far in the race. Hopefully the only one, but tires coming into play here. We've been racing for give or take an hour, and still got about 20 minutes of the race left to go. Tires, if they haven't changed them, which wasn't required, all the teams have to come down to pit road because they need fuel in an 80-minute race. But so tire change not required. Some will have done that, some will have not done it based on whatever their strategy is. And you can see some of that show up here. A lot of cars getting out of line here at this stage.
As we're getting closer and closer to the end of the race, these drivers are going to keep taking more and more liberties with each other while their tires are getting a little bit worse. And one thing that's worth noting that I don't think we've noted or gone over is that for people who only watch ACC, repair times in iRacing are significantly higher.
Apocalyptic.
It's very likely that a driver that gets T-boned in an 80-minute race will be out of the race if it's beyond halfway through. We're seeing repairs up to an hour sometimes for major hits.
Yeah, she's not kidding. I have sat in there for 22 minutes in a 12-hour race repairing a race car. It happens. It is. I know we complain. We're sort of spoiled in ACC. We complain a lot about, I got 60 seconds worth of damage. In iRacing, it is almost realistic, if you will. I wouldn't quite go and say it's fully. It's obviously meant to not keep you in the garage for half a day while they repair a transmission, but it's more realistic. If you bang the car up, if you've done the radiator, the suspension components, you're going to be sitting there for 10 minutes or so while they repair such parts. Certain things a little bit faster to fix, like brakes and stuff like that, obviously because of the quick change systems. But you mess a car up, that is going to be quite a difficult one to repair. One piece of information I will have for you next week, I don't have this week, is I don't know if Tom Bryant has given them a fast repair for each race. I don't think he has, but I also don't know if he would. So I will refrain from judging and bring you an actual answer in 1 week's time. There we go, another car skidding off into the marbles. A lot of marbles out there at this stage, and that's going to lose them time. It's going to ruin the tires, the traction for the moment until they get those marbles off.
Exactly, and that little bit of bumpy tires, especially when we're coming around these really banked curves, which are already digging into the tires, just gonna absolutely spike up wear even more.
Reading the chat, the chat's in our conversation with us here. We love to see it. Dutch Stig has said, you have never had an engine blow and have to wait 1.2 hours to get it fixed. I have not done that. I don't think I've ever actually blown. That's a lie. Blew up the MX-5. The old MX-5.
How did you manage to blow an engine on an MX-5?
Well, you see, I had manual gears, and
yeah, so does the rest of us.
Yeah.
Come on, no money shifting, Jesse.
I did it. I did it at, I think it was the old Phoenix road course layout. In fact, I money shifted. That did, in fact, ruin my race. I didn't stay around to see how long the repair was, though, so that's still excellent information to have from Dutch Stick. Also good information to have from Harry Conway. They do have a fast repair in this series. So what is a fast repair? It's fair stand.
Fast repair is when you're coming into the pit in iRacing, you're given the option to take a little box that says fast repair. This basically bypasses the overall repair. I think it brings it down to at most about 5 minutes for pretty extreme repairs. An absolute must if you ever want to get back into the race after taking some damage on shorter races.
Yeah, my friend's group used to call that the Spider-Man rule. And Spider-Man rule meaning that everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one, Jesse.
Oh my goodness. Am I too much?
Not at all.
We did call it that for quite a long time, and every time you'd use one, we'd say something to the effect of, yeah, everybody gets one.
Let's take a moment to thank Ash Bibby for 5 months. Thank you so much for supporting RCI TV for all of this time.
Certainly the case, supporting us behind the scenes, in the scenes, beyond the scenes. One up on Kevin Boss, flex emoji, crying, laughing emoji. Yeah, that's right. I read out emojis.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ash Bibby, for, what did you say it was? 5 months, indeed, of continued support here as well. For folks that don't know, any donations, any subscriptions, anything like that to RCI goes right back into paying for servers like ergo iRacing here. The more subscribers and stuff, theoretically, the more races and events that we can run. And no doubt, iRacing, this series and other series beyond are made in part by you. Now this Ferrari has, oh my goodness, completely ran through the infield grass beyond the horseshoe, and they have retired that car. That Ferrari will go no further. And I was that contact there, or that's so strange.
Absolutely. I'm not entirely sure, but it's always a shame when you see something like that happen. You never want to see a driver get forced to retire for any reason, even their own.
Yeah, sometimes you return to garage because the car, a couple of racetracks in iRacing that there's no fake barriers in this sim. A lot of sims, they put these sort of unrealistic barriers to keep stuff like that from happening. There's nothing like that here. In iRacing, tracks are true to life, so there's a couple places where you can completely skip the circuit and do stuff like that. That's probably the most frightening thing that can happen to you on the racetrack is you do a hairpin turn and you see headlights coming at you when you know, in fact, that shouldn't be happening. It's not better for the driver spinning out either, because they don't want to be the person in that position, and they're just hoping. I mean, everybody's hoping at that point, just miss everybody.
For people who maybe aren't familiar with the way tires and overall kind of grip works in iRacing is a lot more. Your grip is extremely high until you lose lateral grip, and then the car spins out.
Yep, it is certainly a problem here in every sim really, but certain things accentuated in iRacing. We're of the LMP2 category. This is Mikael Sundstrom, who, remember, they were 5th or 6th place early on at the back, the tail end of that four-way fight. Mikael Sundstrom's worked his way all the way up to P2, continuing his great legacy he has. He's not just a one-trick pony, Mikael. He can race just about anything, and he proves it. He's a champion in ACC racing, has represented his country and represented them well in sim racing. He's out here doing it on iRacing. Just some people just have all the talent.
Absolutely. And today it looks like they're really representing mayonnaise by the looks of it.
Is that a Hellman's logo on that car? Is that what
I believe so, yes.
Is it a Hellman's logo? Okay. we had some folks talk to us prior to the race and brief us on some of the liveries. It is sort of harder to see them in the low light, but we didn't get briefed on Hellman's, which is a mayonnaise product. And we did get briefed on some of the other amusing liveries out there on the grid tonight. But one way or another, that's the fastest mayonnaise jar I've ever seen, if that is indeed what is on. And if it's not, Mikael, I do apologize.
I'm pretty sure it says Hellman's, and I have to say, mayonnaise product sounds deeply ominous.
Yeah. Well, they got, okay, I got my soapbox out. They got that Miracle Whip, and that ain't mayo. You ain't gonna tell me that mayo. Ain't no miracle over there. The miracle is that it's digestible. Anyway, there goes our Miracle Whip sponsorship. I just didn't see Mikael Sundstrom as a mayonnaise guy, but wait, no, of course he would be. Sure. I'll take it back. I had a revelation about Mikael there. Never mind. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
You want to share with the class, Jesse?
Well, I mean, you know, we've talked about it before, him and I, basically, mayonnaise. Some people can't stand the stuff. Some people quite enjoy it. I just didn't.
Very much. And yes, that is definitely a Hellman's logo.
Okay.
On the fin.
We have independently confirmed the existence of a Hellman. I just didn't. What I'm more surprised about is that it's a Hellman's mayonnaise. I would have assumed it would have been a Swedish brand or something.
I mean, let's be honest, Duke's is the best stuff.
Well, you say stuff like that, but I'm a craft man. And now Sarah Stamp will refuse to talk to me for...
Okay, I don't consume a lot of mayo to begin with, only mixed in with other things. Straight up, I'm not as big a fan, but, you know, you get that Chipotle thing going, or you use it in honey mustard, it's different, you know?
Oh my goodness.
Kevin Boss in chat has informed us that Heinz for life with a Y and not an I.
I don't think you can get Heinz mayo here. I think that's only a European thing, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you might be able to get it in Canada, but Heinz makes a lot of stuff, but I don't think you can get Heinz mayo here.
You can.
Can you really?
I've received it even as packets from restaurants before.
Oh, okay. I think I've ever had it though. I'd like to have it. Of course, I've already exposed myself as a craft mayo household. But, I'm open to anything that ain't Miracle Whip. Why are we talking about mayonnaise? We're off the subject here. It's a weird broadcast. We do apologize for that.
What happens when we don't have a timing tower?
Liz, regular service will be resumed next Thursday. I promise you that. As for right now, though, we're all we kind of turned this into the RCI podcast. We're trying to keep you up to date with what's going on the racetrack, but at the same time, losing our minds ever so slightly here tonight. We just hope that you're having fun along with the ride. I saw Raphael Huell, that's the number 21 Dallara in the LMP2 category. He's in 5th place currently and looks quite solid P5. That's a GTP behind him. Nobody in the near vicinity. Ooh, one's ever so slightly wide right there, but seem to have it all under control. No wiggle there. That's a good sign.
While we're on the topic of racing in general, how about those GT2 cars in the upcoming GT2 series?
Yeah, that's going to be pretty darn fun, isn't it? GT2, for those of you that haven't heard, the GT2 DLC pack that includes the brand new track to ACC, Red Bull Ring, has come out. That came out officially yesterday. I've talked to a lot of competitors in the last day or so about how they feel about it, and the sentiment is the same. It's fun. It's great to have a completely new class. A new racetrack is always welcome, of course. The sentiment, though, is largely, I hope it doesn't fizzle out quite like some of the other support series does. But fantastic cars, excellently represented and modeled in ACC now. And if you're looking to drive GT2 cars in a championship, man, do we have a series for you. Our newest event managers here at RCI, Ash Bibby and Kevin Boss, have put together a GT2 series that you can sign up for right now. It is on racerci.com. Link your Discord. Join us for the GT2 series that starts February 2nd. That is Friday, February 2nd. The series will run on 4 consecutive Fridays, and we will crown the very first RCI GT2 champion at the end. 3 wide. How do you like this?
That is awfully brave, but it looks like just one of them was heading off to pits. So only 2 wide at the end of the day. We saw a few drivers just recently definitely doing the opposite of what we've been seeing. There was a lot of miscommunications and drivers weaving back and forth, not really sure where to find their opening, where to pass. And at the end of the day, it's super important to try and have that sort of communication with other drivers.
I've seen that go wrong too. Cars coming down pit lane like that, where they're not in the right lane, or maybe they got forced up off the bottom of the track, exiting the bus stop. It's certainly possible that could happen, and you're in the wrong lane, and you're forced to either brake or try to force your way down, and neither one of those situations is a situation you want to find yourself in. But they were 3 wide, but he had the peace of mind that he was in the right lane to get that done. By the way, if you would like more racing in, let me make sure got this correct before I say anything. Oh yeah, if you like some racing, maybe you want a little breath of fresh air outside of ACC or iRacing, RCI has AMS2 races as well on January 30th. That's this coming Tuesday. We will be doing an LMDH and LMP2 mixed class race on AMS2. That sign up is also available for you on racerci.com. Keep in mind, we've got many other ACC championships currently running right now. The Midweek Masters Championship in the middle of the season will be round 3 at Nürburgring in 1 week's time. The Monday Ferrari Challenge Cup is absolutely in the middle of a hotly contested series. We'll be going to Monza this Monday. And, of course, the Night Owl Winter Break Championship wraps up this weekend at Alton Park. And I hear, little birdie told me, Night Owl Season 17 just over the horizon. A little bit of everything AMS2, iRacing, ACC, and don't forget WRC. Join our racing club on RaceNet. Get involved. We cover that here live at the conclusion of events and championships as well.
It's always a great time anytime you get to race with these people here at RCI. They are some of the most amazing, friendly, helpful people you'll ever race with. Never be afraid to ask questions. I've never had a question not answered by these people. They are great people and highly recommend if you've never done any sort of ACC, AMS2, iRacing, now's the chance to jump in.
Quite humorous too. I love sneaking into some of the race chats post-race and just seeing what the drivers are saying to each other, or maybe a lot of times they're commiserating or making light of what happened to them in the race, showing off clips of daring overtakes or spectacular wipeouts, and generally a good-natured sense of humor group. And I don't care who you are or where you come from, we could always use more sim racers of that variety, and it's just nice that we have that sort of culture where it really feels like a genuine community. It's not like drivers are here one day a week and they take off. A lot of these drivers that we have, they know each other quite well, and if they don't, you get like iRacing like this, they will figure each other out by the end of the championship. And of course, you know, occasionally drivers can get emotional, sir. Did you know that? They can get upset.
Who would have thought? I would have never thought that people in highly competitive esport type situations could get upset. I thought nothing of that sort of stuff ever happens.
We're landing on thick like Heinz mayo apparently here, but yeah, sometimes you get a little upset, but I've seen a lot of apologies after moments like that as well. A lot of responsibility taken here. We'll be curious. Hasn't been a ton of drama in this race, maybe one or two that will leave some heads scratching, but beyond that, been pretty much a by-the-books race, and we were always kind of curious what was going to be like the 2-hour, 40-minute Daytona race we had a couple of weeks ago as a precursor to the real 24-hour event happening this weekend. That was a very large success. A lot of fun was had. I couldn't find a single team that didn't have something good to say about that race, and you always worry, I do as a broadcaster, I worry about a follow-up event to that. Will the drivers be more aggressive? What will the racing be like? But no, they've been largely the same, quite respectful. Some 3-wide racing, some 4 cars, in a same class all in a row. They were able to sort it out without any sort of drama besides, and that's kind of what you're looking for. So we kind of had a little bit of a repeat from the 2-hour, 40-minute race, just in a more condensed format. Final few minutes of the race here as we're ticking down. You can see on your screen right now that we have just passed the 1 hour and 21 minute mark. That seems to tell me that the leaders will be on the last lap of the race. This race scheduled for 80 minutes, of course. You can still see, since we are at Daytona, the top of the flagman stand has LEDs on it. It's green currently, and I suspect it does for NASCAR anyway. It turns, probably won't turn white because they don't do that here. It might illuminate in a checkered pattern of some sort when the leader comes through, but they haven't yet. It's still green.
And we'll continue to be green until we get that first driver over the line, and then all the other drivers, little dash computers will update and show checkered flag. We're looking at P1 right now. Congratulations to them for racing out a hard-fought race today.
Who was that driver, Ash? Who'd you say? Oh, okay. We will see if I can't bring up some information on him. I have to do this al fresco.
Outside?
Ooh. Is that what al fresco means?
I'm pretty sure that's what al fresco means.
Oh, I thought al fresco meant without proper tools or education.
No, al fresco means taking place or located in the open air.
Well, we are technically doing that because we are outside. That's not what I thought it meant, though. Here is Lucas Christek coming to the line, I suspect, or maybe they have another. No, that was the checkered flag. The flagman waving the checkered flag, and the first round of the iRacing IMSA RCI Championship goes to Lucas Christek in his Acura ARX06 GTP. The 222 takes round number 1 in the top class.
Absolutely fabulous race today. And the most important thing seems to be is just keeping yourself from getting caught up by other drivers and taking damage. We saw a lot of drivers today battling for 2, 3, 4 and getting caught up and bumping with each other, and that cost them time at the end of the day.
Certainly does. We'll have a full results list for you once everybody crosses the line, of course. Just wanted to follow the leader home, and as everybody else finishes up and finishes their positional squabbles here, I just want to say a big thank you for everyone for hanging out with us and bearing with us while we deal with some of the technical gremlins behind the scenes this evening. On top of that, just want to thank our partners that help bring this race and every race to you. AK Esports, for more on how they can help you with your sim racing esports management, go to akesports.it. Driver 61, if you want some driver coaching, you want to get more consistent or just get playing faster and develop better racecraft, Driver 61 is the place to go. They offer one-on-one driver coaching and full-on racing schools to get you up to pace, up to speed, and more confident in your automobile. Fanatec is the world leader in direct drive sim racing hardware. They offer some newer bundles as of late. Go check them out at fanatec.com. DigitalMotorsports.com is your one-stop shop for everything sim racing. Whether you are looking to upgrade your rim or your entire rig, Digital Motorsports carries all the top brands from all the top people. DigitalMotorsports.com also has their own sim rig builder. You can build the sim rig of your dreams or your budget. DigitalMotorsport.com. GoSetups.gg offers a fantastic array of setups for ACC. If you're looking to get up to pace or maybe just outwit your friends or competitors with some very clever and fantastically procured and set up cars, you can check out GoSetups.gg, and I would hazard the guess that in a couple of weeks at worst, you will have GT2 setups on there, and they will probably be top of the line. GoSetups.gg. We see you when you click the links. We thank you so very much for doing so. Lights ablaze and flashing from Ted Edwards as they cross the line there. And many other cars coming through the line as well. Gary Conway reckons that that might have just been the white flag out. I wasn't aware they did that in a road race. Obviously they do that in oval races, but I wasn't aware they did that in there. But either way, he may be correct. He probably is, Harry Conway. But either way, cars are certainly finishing the race right about now. Once more, a big thank you to Kevin Boss and Ash Bibby for resubscribing to the channel. Once again, all donations and subscriptions and all that sort go right back into hosting servers. Everybody here is a volunteer. Sarah Stant, as we close out round number 1 here at Daytona, what are your thoughts on what we saw tonight?
From what we saw tonight, we saw a bunch of drivers learning exactly what their competitors are going to be like over the rest of these races. And a lot of them also learning that they really have to respect the tire model of iRacing, because otherwise they're going to go sideways. And I think the biggest thing we could say about today is we didn't see a lot of drive-throughs.
No, we didn't. I don't think there's very possible that we saw some cars get near or beyond their limit. We had the obvious one retirement or so. But other than that, I expected it to be a scrappy race. It wasn't that at all. It was a mostly mild mannered race with some excellent racing, especially in that LMP2 class and late in the GTP class. Here are the results of round number one here at Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona Road Course. Lucas Christek wins it over Luca Filippi, and Bastian Lindner, who had to retake third, gets that spot for themselves. Finn Dressel, or Finn Diesel, if you're a friend, finished fourth with Joshua Parrott in the fifth place. Behind them in the GTP category, Ryan Leach, Billy Octane, Lubos Lep, Eric Ingman, Jordan Daly, Theobald Roskim, and Jaroslav Sindelar are your finishers there. In LMP2, it's Maciej Hyla who wins the race over Christian Campfrier. Benjamin Heilman finishes third with Mikhail Sundstrom in fourth place. Peter Roche in fifth in the LMP2 class. Behind them, Raphael Huell, Ted Edwards, Tom Bryant, and Justin Dykstra are your finishers in that class. Scott Williams in between the classes in the GTP class, telling us that he had significant issues this evening. Outside of that, the GT3 class was won by Pavel Dozal, Dorian Janjic in second place. Piotr Dominicus finished in third place in GT3. Yannick Roth, or Roof, if you will, in fourth place. Tom Watts rounds out your top five in GT3. Behind them, Daniel Merchant, Christopher Rowe, James Mead, Ada Wolf, and Christian Humphreys, your finishers in GT3. A couple of GTP cars that I assume did not finish this race, including Vladimir Broshek and Patrick Din. Well, we've got a
correction there.
Oh, go ahead.
You stated Yannick Ruoff was fourth. It's actually Bart Matja,
yeah.
Matcha, not Yannick.
I didn't even see his, I beg pardon, I didn't even see the name on the list there. I might be going blind in my old age, but excellent correction there. Yeah, they're down on the list. I think I'm going crazy, or I think maybe the timing messed up when somebody left the session. Either way, excellently caught by Sarah Stant there. We do have P3 in the GT3 category. Piotr, I'm correct in that, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I'm second guessing myself, man. Piotr Dominicus finishes third in the first round of the iRacing Road Championship. Piotr, how was your race? What did you see out there, and how do you feel with your podium in this series?
Honestly, didn't expect a podium here, even with my spin. So yeah.
You had a spin. When was that? Was that early?
Like halfway into the race, right before my pit stop. Great timing. Yeah, was within like 1 or 2 seconds of Zoran, so slowly creeping forward, and then yeah, spin, 10-second gap. No way to recover that gap.
Well,
and I kind of expected it to drop way further, but yeah. Still P3, so I will take it.
What was it like out there? You had so many different classes. You're obviously racing for podium honors in your own class. Was everybody mostly patient, or was it a mad dash from your perspective?
Felt quite patient for me, but I was just chilling. Just pushing, just not trying to spin, trying to not like push myself into a wall, but still got the spin out in there. Yeah. I didn't have any really close incidents with any of the other classes, so I will have to say a good job from the other classes there.
I will say that's what it kind of looked like to us too. We just said before you came in, it looked mostly well-mannered and managed. Sarah Stant, you got anything for a third-place GT3 driver?
Only thing I would have to ask is that how did you feel driving around the other types of cars out there today?
As always, they annoy me, because every time they dive into a corner, I lose a second or half a second.
Reasonable answer. Reasonable answer.
They're
Love
like
the
annoying.
blunt honesty.
They're like annoying flies, honestly.
Like
If
annoying
you can just slap
flies.
them away, that would be
Piotr,
great.
you know that
Apart
some of
from
those
that, if you keep mind of them, it's fine.
some of those prototype drivers are going to watch this back and they're going to be
That's
like,
fine.
okay, Dominicus, okay, I'm not letting him. I'm giving him a little extra next week.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's
I've been
why
in the prototype class. I know how it feels on this.
folks, that's why I have Sarah stand around. She asks the real questions, all right, and that you get real answers when you ask real questions. Piotr, anybody you want to thank, shout out before you go?
Of course, my sort of team in here, Willie Slow, Kevin Boss. We had like a great run in the 24 of Daytona until like what 16 hours into it, and we had a crash which started from first to third in there. That still stinks. Um, yeah, no, I just want to thank Kevin.
Well, there you go. I got to ask you finally, based on that, I did know that happened to you guys. It was a brutal end to the race, especially one that started with such promise. Does this sort of like ease it, numb it a little bit? Like, is this sort of vindication slightly? Be like, oh, yeah, I can go out here and I can do this, and not let me be defined by what happened in the 24.
I mean, the 24 kind of went the same way for me, just smacking out left times, not like getting smacked off by traffic, and it's just a bit of luck mixed in there, and mostly just show where you want to go as early as possible, and hope they don't dive that corner that you want to make.
Well, Piotr, thanks for joining us. We wish you the very best of luck. You're in an excellent position in GT3 to contest this championship now. We wish you the very best of luck. Thanks for talking to us.
Don't get your hopes up. We will see next week.
We will indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Piotr Dominicus, third place in the GT3 class today. And do you notice, Sarah, whenever you asked him your question, the driver came out there and he started giving driver answers instead of press answers. Now, that's the Sarah Stant difference, folks at
Of
home.
course, I'm just here to make sure that people answer questions that make sure that they never get a sponsor again.
You're like a Supreme Court justice. Like you can't. They don't lie to you.
I just got an email from somebody.
Well, folks, once again, we do apologize for our technical difficulties that we had here today. We will have, of course, all of that rectified in 1 week's time. And we will have, obviously, live timing the lot for you. We sort of ran into a couple of technical gremlins. You can see the aspect ratios off and all of that. But we still wanted to bring you the race on top of everything here today. So do we have this is Hyla, is this the LMP2 winner that we have waiting here?
Yes.
Does one of us know? Yes, that
It is.
is. So
Yeah.
we will.
Ooh, hello.
Yep. Yes, we will do this. Hyla, welcome in. And I got to ask, what's it like to win the very first LMP2 race here in a championship with RCI and iRacing?
Oh, I have to say it feels amazing because I mean, it's just I wasn't sure about the strategy. I thought either it was gonna be great or it would be the end of my race. But thankfully it worked out, and yeah, I got P1. I feel like maybe Christian was little bit faster than me even, and I in the end I got him just enough to get a P1. I think by 6 seconds.
He speaks, of course, of Christian Kampferger, who finished in P2. I'm going to butcher your first name, and you're going to make fun of me, okay? Mache?
Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, you know what they say, a broken clock's right twice a day. I got to say, it was a pretty brilliant display. How did you stay out of trouble today?
Oh, it was like the first stint, it was all about just keeping out of like trouble with other cars because I had to lift massively to save fuel. So it was just me looking behind the mirrors, looking behind all the time to see if there's anyone behind, if there's any GTPs or even worse LMP2s. And it was a bit scary, I have to say, but it worked out in the end. Didn't have a crash or anything. So yeah.
Sarah Stant, got anything for our winner in LMP2?
What's it like being in the middle between those GTPs and GT3s, kind of having to battle with cars that are faster and slower at the same time? Do you feel like it hindered you at all today, or do you feel that it was just kind of another par for the course?
Oh, it can get a little tricky at times. I mean, I did the Daytona 24 last week, so obviously I had some practice in getting done with the traffic. But yeah, it can get a little tricky, especially since the GTPs, they're not that much faster than the LMP2s. They're only like 3-4 seconds faster. So at times you feel so frustrated because they're not going that much faster in the corners, and you just kind of have to wait, and it's you see the delta go down, and you're like, oh man, it's gonna ruin everything. But yeah, you just have to be patient. That's the thing. You have to be patient, and everything turns out okay in the end.
You love to hear it. Maciej Hale, congratulations on winning a historic event. It's RCI's first iRacing championship. We've had one-offs, obviously, but this is our first championship, and you are a class winner. Congratulations. Anybody you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Justin because I mean, he would have. He was on the same strategy as me. He was only a few seconds behind. Justin Dijkstra, who was also in the race, and he had a screen freeze in the middle of the race, which caused him to crash and go into the pits. So that's. But yeah, I think he deserves a shout out because he was also really fast. I think he would have been close to the podium. He would have fought there. So yeah, and thank you guys. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much for coming and answering our questions today, and congratulations again on your win.
Thank you, and thank you for the broadcast. Bye.
Well, Jesse, we always ask the drivers who they want to thank and shout out. But ever notice that we never ask the drivers who they want to curse?
Yeah. Some drivers come in here and they do that by themselves. I wonder if Christian is going to do that. Christian finished P2 in LMP2.
I actually have to take off my hat to Maciej because I was while driving, I got told I knew he was going at least a lap longer, but I wasn't really sure if he had to pit early, and that's why he was going longer. When he went for 27 laps and pitted 2 laps later than me, and I knew 25 laps could have worked, and I almost managed to push my first into 26 laps, which at the end of the day would have made it work the whole race for me. But yeah, I got caught off guard, and he was crazy enough to push for 27 laps on the first stint, which I didn't even think was possible. For me, I knew 25 laps was a push, but yeah, hats off to him. I got outplayed today. I knew I had the pace. I had the pace, and I could manage traffic because you guys were asking how it is between GTs and GTPs. I also did the 24 hours, just in another league, not the official one. And yeah, it's how much you said it. It's being patient, and yeah, timing traffic, not gunning into bus stop and then having to slow down in the middle of the corner, but normally accelerating out of it. It's just yeah, traffic management is key, but I still take P2. Still a good result. Let's see how the next week goes. I mean, I don't have 400 laps of practice before next race probably, but we will see how it goes. And yeah.
Christian, you've ruined my interview. You've answered all my questions. Instead, I'm going to take a stab at pronouncing your last name. I'm on a roll, Christian.
Do it.
Hamburger.
Stab it. Almost. It's it's almost right. I've heard worse. People have misspelled it, but it's Kambrega. As an American, it's probably way too hard. Or English.
Thank you. I bow down to that reaction. Thank you so much.
It's like the only people that probably pronounce it properly are Italians, and I'm from
Okay.
Austria, so as I said, I heard worse.
Christian, is there anybody you want to shout out today?
I mean, shout out to my guys from Rising Panda Racing. I'm sadly the only one this race, but we have been or this championship. We've been a lot of people in the past, but yeah, the guys, we were preparing a lot for the 24-hour, and they were also in my stream today. So thanks for the moral support. Yeah, shout out to Mache. I'm not cursing him. He made it. He made it work. He made it work. I almost got him at the end, but yeah, it was just not enough. Shout out to you guys for putting iRacing championships on now that a lot of people are switching over. And yeah, thanks for the race. Thanks for the broadcast. And yeah, guess I'll see you guys next week.
See y'all next week.
Thank you so much, Christian P2 in LMP2. Folks, it's been an interesting day here at RCI, a historic day for some. A lot of happy drivers leaving with trophies. The race considered quite good on the whole. Minor dramas all around, but that is what racing is for. On behalf of everyone here at RCI, I'd like to thank you all for watching, participating. And I have, of course, been Jesse Lee, joined by Sarah Stant with Ash Bibby behind the cameras. Our next broadcast on RCI TV is on Monday, the Ferrari Challenge Cup in ACC. There might be a surprise AMS2 stream on Tuesday. The Midweek Masters Championship in ACC on Wednesday. We'll be back with you for more iRacing IMSA on Thursday. And we hope to see you again soon. In 2 weeks' time, we'll probably see you on a Friday for some GT2 racing as well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for bearing with us for our technical difficulties. We'll see you next week. And until then, have a good night.